right, greetings everyone. My name is Melanie Lewis, and I am excited to speak today with Thaïs Moore. I just want to make you aware, those of you that are joining for the first time, that Threshold World is a medium of ideas, information, and inspiration to spur the world into positive action through personal stories, tours, and travel. It is our goal to positively engage one person at a time. The college edition is a special project specifically designed for the college community in this unprecedented time of virtual opportunities. And so today, again, we are happy to speak with Thaïs Moore. She is the co-founder, I'm sorry?
Just Thaïs.
Thaïs Moore, yes, apologies. Okay. Co-founder and director of the Fearless Leadership Institute at the University of Texas at Austin. And she is also the author of a syllabus for Black women. So I am so excited to have her here today. Yes, I got this book. When I got the book, I had to get a copy for not only myself, but my two mentees, and they're both in two different schools as well. So I was very excited to be able to speak to you on today. But definitely, I got to start with your personal journey for context and relatability for our beautiful audience here. I see you grew up in Cali and you attended UCLA, studied African American Studies and English. So shout out to all the English majors and African American Studies. And then when you finished, then you were able to teach for a while. So I thought that was awesome. And I'm just, sharing your trajectory of, from the time a student gets into school and they're choosing that major, and, that's a whole life, a whole period in their life where they're already choosing that major, and then getting to that point of being able to have the first part of their actual career. Is there anything you want to speak to that first set? It's like I'm breaking it up into parts.
Okay. Well, first, Melanie, I just want to say thank you for inviting me to this interview. Thank you for picking up the book, supporting the cause, so to speak, and spreading the word, buying it for your mentees. And that's what it's all about. Like, I don't know how many of these books I've just passed out, because it's not about making the money. Yes, I would like to make some money off of them, but it's more so about making sure young women in college, or even if they're not in college, if they're just young women and they're trying to find their way and they need some support, they need some tools, some skills, it's about that. So thank you for spreading it. I really appreciate that. Thank you for this interview, for your time, and for what you do to elevate the community. So as far as that first career, that's like being in college and trying to figure out what the next step is probably one of the scariest phases in life. Because you think that when you graduate that you're just supposed to have it all figured out, right? And you're supposed to land this great job, this great career, so your family can say, look, she went to school and look what she did, kind of in comparison to maybe those in your family who didn't go to school. You're expected to do something different or better. But I had no idea of what I was going to do when I graduated. And first off, all my life, I only heard really that you could be a doctor, a lawyer, or a teacher, as far as like those professions that people admire, right? And so I was like, well, I don't want to be a teacher, definitely don't want to be a lawyer, but I was good in biology and math, and I liked helping people. So I was like, okay, I'll be a doctor. And then as I grew up, I was like, okay, I'll be an OBGYN because I love babies. And only a part of that is being helping the babies, right? So just not being really aware of exactly what I wanted to do. But when I got into UCLA and I was pre-med, my upper division chemistry courses got extremely challenging. And the content is already difficult, right? But on top of that, the professor had a heavy accent that I could not understand. And so I'm trying to understand the content, trying to read through his accent. So I went to the tutor for help, went to the TA for help, and all of them had accents that I had a hard time understanding what they were even saying. I'm not trying to put anybody down, of course, for having an accent that's different from mine. I just didn't understand it.
Yeah.
And so this happened in several courses, and it was just getting more and more challenging, and I wasn't getting the support that I needed. And I had taken an African American English course, and it blew my mind, the things that I learned. Like, I was just in awe and so inspired by, wow, look where my people what we have overcome, and look where we are today. And it just helped me understand the plight of Black America. And so when I got to that point of where I didn't know what I was going to do with my major, I was struggling, my grades were dropping. And then I had this course over here that I love. Somebody, I think it was my advisor, said, well, why don't you go ahead and change your major? And of course, that made me have to extend my college career another year. So I ended up being in school 5 years instead of 4. So that was just, I just love that. And I finished with a great GPA. Still didn't know what I was going to do with that major, but it was African American Studies with a minor in English. And so I love theater also. And then on the side, while I was at UCLA, I was at the Beverly Hills Playhouse taking acting lessons. So I was in plays and things like that, which I thought, well, maybe when I graduate, I can go that way. But God is so good. Like, as soon as I graduated, one of my cousins who made sure that I applied to UCLA and made sure that I got in, she was right there when I graduated. And she gave me a job at her school. She was a elementary school principal in Compton, California at Foster Elementary. And she hired me. She probably wasn't supposed to, because you're not supposed to hire your family, but she didn't care. She was like, come on, cuz, you're gonna be a second grade teacher. And I had no idea what I was doing. I still pray for those people today who I was their second grade teacher.
Thank goodness for the family. When they give us opportunities and other people don't yet.
Right. They got a lot of love and they learned some things, but as far as the curriculum they were supposed to get, I don't think I taught that year. I was young and I was fresh out of college, and I just basically did the best that I could. And so, yes, that I taught for a year in Compton, and then I taught another year in Pasadena. And then right in the middle of teaching that second year, I met my husband. Well, I had known him before, but he asked me to marry him, and then I moved to Louisiana. And so that kind of halted my teaching career.
Awesome. So yes, thank you. So you caught us up to exactly where I was going next. So love it. Thank you. Okay, so we got that piece. So you taught in elementary for a while, and then came marriage and motherhood. So these are the different aspects of our life and the different things that happen on our trajectory. So congratulations and continued blessings to the fam.
Thank you.
So then you went to Louisiana State University. I see. And you studied playwriting, and with the help of your husband, I see that you started a Black theater company. That's amazing. Oh my God.
It was so much
you
fun.
produced. No, go ahead. What'd you say?
I'm sorry for interrupting. I said it was just so much fun. Like, that was the best part of Baton Rouge.
Tell us. I was just saying, when you produced, directed, and acted in your own works, that is like a dream. So, awesomely creative and entrepreneurship. So that's a whole nother thing in itself. So tell us about that.
Yes, well, I know a lot of people would probably say, well, why did you, get married so soon out of college? And, you didn't really work on your career path. You didn't really know what you were doing. And then you moved all the way, like thousands of miles from home, from all of your family. And I have a huge family in California, to just one person in Louisiana, far, far away. Like, why would you risk that? And I know for me, getting married was on my list of goals, getting married and having children. So I didn't see it as I was putting this in front of this. Marriage and children was one of the things that I've always wanted, one of the things I had always prayed for. And so I just felt like, well, as far as career goes, I'll just figure it out whenever it happens, but I'm doing this now. And so right after I had my first baby, I was in a playwriting course at LSU, and I wrote my first full-length play. And when I finished it, I was like, yay, my first full-length play. And I just thought it was, nice, and it would sit there on the table and just be on the table. And my husband said, okay, now it's time to produce it. And I was like, what? Like, who does that? And so I just, to this day, like how he has pulled the best things out of me, has been so powerful and so impactful in the community or whatever. And so I rented out a room at LSU. I put up some auditions because I knew how to do all of that because I had been in plays. So even though I had never done that side of it, I just did what I saw done, put on auditions, cast the characters, and rented out the space, and went and bought, the furniture and the props, or borrowed them from people. And the play was called Any Ordinary Day. It was a play about my father, who is, if you knew him, he's a character in and of himself. You know how some people are people and some people are characters? He's a character. When God made him, he broke the mold. And so it was a comic, what do you call it? A comic drama? I'm getting the words wrong. About him and the family. So that just turned into writing more plays and producing more plays, which turned into the Black Theater Company, which there was this little house in Baton Rouge sitting on the corner that we rented out and changed the signage and gutted it out and made a stage and did plays in there. And so it seemed like every time I had another child, I had another production, and the productions kept going and the children had to stop because they were coming one after the other. And I just had 3, but I knew if I didn't do anything, I would keep having more. And I wasn't with my family, so it was just me and my husband. His family's in Cleveland, and I was overwhelmed. So I hate now sometimes that I made such a permanent stop to having children, or procedure, shall I say, because after about 5 or 6 years, I wanted another set of 2 or 3. But, oh well, the college students are my babies.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing that exciting time in your life. I personally didn't see it as anything crazy. I know a lot of people, they become a teacher, then they families forms, it's like they're that teacher and then they have their family. And I know I read that you come from a large family, and that family was always, a big part of your life. So I guess once one understands that, they get it. But it's great that you addressed, those that, may not have, may have been wondering. So I think it's awesome how you had the support of your husband to be able to, and you had that specifically written. So I knew, that he was there to support you and to guide you into just doing your best in that. And that's what I love about partnership and marriage. Not that I am married as yet, but when you have that person to bring out the best in you, I mean, how could you not love that? How could, being pushed, because love does push you. And I just love that. So thank you so much for sharing that. And I love it. I love it, love it, love it.
Thank you.
Pushes and guides and aids. So then moving along from that part, then I saw where you went into studying acting at the University of Texas, where you began working, and then you began working on the campus through an initiative which actually led you kind of back into education in a way, because it was a partnership. So I can relate to that, just based on, when you coordinate those different types of programs on the college campus. And I just love that transition, how you went into studying on the, oh yeah, go ahead.
My son is trying to get in the door.
No problem. So I know many of you know that, we are all virtual right now, and we are in our homes, and, of course, as we're in our homes and we're working virtually, we have to keep going. So thank you again to, those of you that are just able to join us. And I'm so excited that we're able to have this conversation on today. So yes. So yes, I was just saying that I thought it was awesome how, you were able to, you were furthering your dream, if you will, which was manifested, and by, studying acting on the campus, and then started working on the campus. I don't know if you want to speak to that before I go into the next thing. I understand that, while you were working on the campus in the capacity as a coordinator, that there were many students that would ask your advice for different things, and you just became a mentor to all of these different women that were on the campus, and you were inspired to create an amazing mentoring program, it seems, and I love the name. So I understand that FLY, Fearless Leadership Institute, is a holistic development program for women of color. And Fearless Leadership Institute, the acronym is FLY, y'all, FLI, just so you know. Love it. I think that's awesome. And co-found, and that you were a co-founder of this particular mentoring program. So I see that you all are doing so many amazing things. I was very impressed when I saw the BOSS. I don't know if you can speak to what the BOSS is, BAWSE, and how you have butterfly retreats. Too cute. I love it. I love how you all work what you do. I was curious to know, with the program itself, I saw that you all wrote that it's also internationally known as well. And I was just curious about the organization itself. How did you come to be able to start a mentoring program on your campus? Was FLY like an organization that was already formed somewhere else and you all brought it to the campus, or this was just a design of you and your co-founder that you just built from scratch and was able to bring it onto your campus? How did that come about?
Yes, it was from scratch, but we have a brother organization that was already set in place maybe about 1.5 years before us, that my husband started. So my husband works at the university as well. He's a professor. Thank you. He's a professor there. He's currently a professor and the VP of diversity. So, but at the time, let's say about 9 years ago or 10 years ago, when he started his program, the African American Male Research Initiative, it was to help keep the pipeline going, so to get brothers to get their PhD.
Awesome.
And so him and he started that, some other men took it over, and I just loved what it did, how it brought them together. And so we started the sister program to kind of emulate it, but ours wasn't necessarily particular to helping them get their PhD. Of course, if we can aid in that, we would, but I wanted to start something that helped with young women in their personal lives. So I feel strongly about digging into your personal choices, how confident you are, what insecurities do you have, where are you just being straight out dumb, or just not aware, or not realizing you even have a choice, right? Because sometimes we don't realize we have a choice in the matter. And I feel like if your personal life is jacked up, it's going to bleed over and affect your career and your academics. You're a whole person. You can't separate the two. So just for like me, when I was in college and I was dealing with a rough relationship and a breakup and an abusive relationship, I wanted to commit suicide at that time. And so, if it wasn't for the love of my family, then it's possible that that could have happened. So yes, what's going on in your personal life is going to affect your academics, because I almost dropped out of school at that time, right? And so I wanted to develop women personally. A colleague of mine, Dr. Tiffany Tillis-Lewis, who was also working at UT at the time, she wanted to develop a program for Black women to help them academically and professionally. So more like the brother program that was going on, right? So my husband knew of our two ideas, and he told us we need to marry them and form one organization. And at first we were both a little bit apprehensive because we knew each other, we were friendly, but we weren't like I don't know you, but that's all a part of it. Like, if we're trying to plan something to help Black women be their best, why not do it with another Black woman and be even stronger, be even better? So we let down our guards and, just shared our ideas and came up with Fly. And now she's one of my best friends over the years. So we've grown a lot together. We've cried a lot together. Just the pouring in that we do to these women is, I could cry right now, but I'm not. I'm going to hold it back. Is just so fulfilling. And I think about how when I changed my major to African American Studies and English, I didn't know, but God knew that I would be using it later on, and even though I would have been a great OBGYN, like, this is where my passion lies, and this is where my purpose lies, because I remember, everything I've gone through. I remember being in church one day, and a lady came to pray for me, and she just kind of like did that ugly face, when the Holy Spirit speaks to you, you just like, oh. She did the ugly face, and she was, ooh, she said, and this was before Fly ever started. She said, God has an amazing purpose for you, and you're going to help change the lives of thousands of women. And at the time, I just had a baby in my hand. So, one child, just got married, and I was like, I don't know what this woman is talking about. I didn't work at UT, none of that, but God spoke to her, God spoke to me. I appreciate her for being obedient, and here we are, helping to change thousands of women's lives.
Beautiful. Oh my goodness. That is something, we get those prophecies early on, be like, oh, okay, I receive it. Right. That's what you say it is. What can but yeah, the ugly face is that sometimes that's the indicator, like, uh-oh. But I hear you. That's like, wow. Like, yeah, I'm still digesting it. And just even picturing you in that moment, up until this day, and understanding just kind of like the emotions of the many young ladies that you and Tiffany, what was Tiffany's last name again? Lewis. Tiffany Lewis. How can I forget? Oh my, Tiffany, hey, we might be fam. Right. That you all were able to put together, just and I understand that it's going on 8 years. Well, in 2021 would be like 8 years.
Yeah, I think it started in 2013. So yeah. Mm-hmm. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I mean, in my thoughts, I was just thinking about the boss. I know that you all have, and congratulations on the milestone that you all have so far. That's amazing. I definitely was able to check out the videos from the butterfly retreat and the boss retreat. Can you tell us more about what those are?
Sure. So every year we do a leadership retreat. So we take the young ladies out to a campsite for a 3-day weekend. And we do all types of developmental activities, and have speakers and quiet time and all of that good stuff that helps build the student up. And so one of our retreats, the theme of it was the Butterfly Retreat, FLI. And we were talking about going through metamorphosis and, starting as a caterpillar and then going into the cocoon and then being able to spread your wings and fly. And we kind of applied that to their life. Like, what stage are you at now?
Love it.
Thank you. And so one of the amazing things that happened at the retreat that that particular retreat that was not amazing at the time. It was terrifying. I created this little improv activity. So I love to use my acting skills and what I would do in the acting world and what I do with Fly. And so the first night we had an improv activity where I put all these different scenarios into a little bucket, and we broke the girls up into teams, the students up into teams, and they had to pick a scenario. In their group, they had to perform it. So they either had to make a skit out of it, or spoken word, or a spoken word or something like that, and perform it within the, after 10 minutes of preparing it. And so we got through the first 3 or 4 performances, and then the 4th one was on being molested as a child. And so the girl who was performing, it was a group, but one of the girls who was performing it, she came up to me before they performed it, and she was like, "Miss Thais, this is the scenario we got. Are you sure we should do this one?" I was like, "Yeah, I think that's something, we need to do. It's something that we deal with." And so they were kind of hesitant, and they were like, "Okay." So they performed their piece, and immediately a girl in the audience just broke down and started screaming, crying. No, I'm sorry. One girl stood up and shared that happened to me. And when she did that, another girl over here started wailing. And then another girl over here on this side of the room started wailing. And it was just like a breakout of just students dropping down and just wailing, and we weren't prepared for that. So one girl ran out, she ran into the bathroom. And so we had about 10 or 12 of us volunteers. So I was like, "Okay, you get her, you get her, you get her." And then the ones who were also crying were like, "Okay, are you okay?" They're like, "No, I'm just crying because she's crying. I'm crying for her." And so I stole away, sounds like a biblical term. I went away for a minute, and I called my husband and I told him what was going on. I was like, "It's chaos." Like, I didn't realize I had opened up a can of worms by having her perform that piece. And I was like, "I don't know what to do. I don't know how to resolve this. I don't know where to go from here." He said, "Thais, calm down." He said, "You're right where you need to be. That's why God put you there. You go back in that room and you just deal with it. There's no running from it. This is what they needed. They needed a place where they could come and let this go, because they've been holding on to it, and it's impacting their lives, And so I was like, "You're right." So I got off the phone, I went back in there, and I don't remember exactly what I did, but we were able to bring it all together and sit in a big circle and just share and love on each other. And the next day we had a counselor who was coming into the retreat. So I called her ahead of time and let her know what had happened. So she changed her whole script of what she was going to talk about and fixed it to meet the needs of what was going on right there. And the Fly is not necessarily a Christian program, but there's a lot of Christians in it. And, Black people in general sometimes come from a Christian background. So we said, "Hey, I don't know if everybody believes, but we about to pray." So, we held hands and we just prayed over the women. And the next year, the retreat group doubled in size, because they said that's where we're going to be able to cry there. We're going to be able to release there.
Awesome.
And so the next retreat, I think it was the next one, I don't remember, but BAWSE, 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 it stands for bold, ambitious, worthy, selective, and empowered. So yes, so each little workshop was on those acronyms, those words: being bold, being ambitious, knowing you are worthy. Like, the worthy part is where we stayed for a little while. And we had a speaker come in. Her name is Kanisha Colwell. She's the mom. Look her up on Instagram. If you ever need a speaker for something, Kanisha Colwell, she will kill it. So we stayed on worthy for a little while because so many Black women don't know their worth, and then selective, like making sure you're making wise choices, and then empowered. And so we did little activities along the way. And it's funny because I think it was that retreat, we didn't do as much crying because we felt like the past retreats had been so overwhelmingly filled with releasing. So we kind of tapered it to not go that far. And the girls were upset. They were like, we didn't cry that much this retreat. We're like, oh, okay. we needed a break. So anyways, that's what Boss was. And then this past retreat was, I can't remember the theme. Sorry. If I don't have my stuff in front of me.
It's okay.
It'll come to me. But yes.
Oh, that's awesome. That is amazing. Thank you for sharing that story about what happened. I imagine, you know, more connectivity transpired and word got out, and you know, just the increase. I imagine for students on the campus, I don't know what the makeup is of the students at the University of Texas is in Austin, or what that makeup is of the Black ratio to far as the diversity makeup. And that's not something that I looked up, but I imagine that, you know, young ladies do appreciate this particular type of program. And I imagine that the results of the connectivity of our Black and Latino and just sisters of color in general coming together aids in their academic studies as well. Can you speak to that particular aspect? And yeah, if you could to that.
Yes, so UT is made up of 51,000 students. That's including grad and undergrad. Black women make up only 3% of that.
Wow.
Yeah, so very, very small. So with our program and with our brother organization, we formed kind of like a HBCU within a predominantly white institution, which originally we didn't have that like that goal in mind, but when we saw what it was doing, how it was bringing everyone together, and we would do joint events, then it was like, oh, we've got something here. So we don't do just personal development. Like I said, we do academic and professional development. So after the Boss retreat, we formed an interest group called Boss Up, and that's where we bring in a lot of professionals to help the young women in different fields. So we'll do mock interviews. We set up women to get to shadow. We have a partnership with HP and a couple other organizations where we have a pipeline to get them internships and get them jobs in these careers. Let's see, we have a Wall Street exposure trip. So we weren't able to do it this year. We won't be able to do it in January because of COVID, but this January of 2020, we went to New York, took 17 students, stayed in an Airbnb, and we went to about 6 companies so that they could get exposed and debunk all of those high ideas that, oh, I don't belong here, or maybe this is not for me. So they got to speak to executives and CEOs and learn more about those companies and what types of jobs exist there. So one of the companies we went to was L'Oreal. And right off the top, you think makeup and facial health. However, all the different jobs that exist at L'Oreal were like, wow, just from HR to scientists to the media person. And so there's so many different types of jobs that they didn't know that existed there. I didn't even know. And so we all learned on that trip. So that's one of our professional development trajectories or programs. And then we also encourage all of our women to fly around the world, FLI around the world. So our brother organization, my husband created a program just to get Black students to study to study abroad. Awesome. Because that's traditionally not something that we do, right?
Right.
And so he created a program. The first place we went to was China, and then we go to South Africa. So every year we go back and forth between China and South Africa, taking Black students. And of course we would take others.
Oh, I think we froze up for a little bit, you all, so just stay tuned. You know how it is. I know it's raining over here in New York City. I don't know if it's my connectivity or what. but I'm sure Ms. Bassmore will be able to join us back again, hopefully. Thank you so much again for being able to join us. I'm so excited so far with the things that, we've been learning about FLY and about Ms. Bassmore at the University of Texas. And I'm just so excited that we all are learning from her on today. So it looks like we lost her. But hopefully, we'll be able to get back on again. All right, so we are resuming, and Ms. Bassmore is back. Mrs. Bassmore.
I think I was talking about, was the last thing you heard about our New York trip? Or okay, and then I went on to fly around the world, making sure that we study abroad. And I was explaining that my husband started a study abroad program geared towards getting Black students to study abroad. You look like you're frozen like you were last time. You're not, okay. Right at that point, you were like, okay. I was like, maybe it's something I'm saying. So anyways, we partner with our department program, which is what I was just talking about. And we make sure our students study abroad. You mentioned Latina students. We originally were just created for Black women, but Latinas started attending, and so we kind of changed our language to include Black and Brown women. And so we make sure, everything that we do is geared towards getting them to study abroad, because that really impacts your academic career and your career opportunities. So a lot of students come back from those trips, they've been exposed to so much, and it just enlightens their studies. You know what I'm saying? They have much more to apply to what they're learning. They have a broader outlook, and they see that it's not just about them and their work. It's big. The world is bigger than that. And so it just gives them an ease, so to speak, in their studies, I would say. It gives them more things to pull from when they're in their classes and more to add to the conversation. Black students tend to be so timid sometimes when raising their hand in class because they don't want to say the wrong thing. Because if they say the wrong thing, then see, they're dumb just like we thought they were. And so a lot of times we're timid in class. But when you have that exposure and it's built your confidence, and you've been to Australia, you've been to, Switzerland and South Africa and China and Japan, and you come back and the person sitting next to you in class just went across the street to Houston, not that you're better than that person, but you're like, I've been somewhere. I have some things to add to this conversation. And so it boosts their academic career as well. And so also when they're going into the interview setting to get jobs, when the interviewer sees that they've been to one of those places or two of those places on their resume, they skip asking them questions about, tell me about what organization you were in, to, wow, tell me about China,
Yes.
And we've had so many stories of young ladies and young men in our brother program who have said, because of this on my resume, I got several offers, or I got, this job. So yes,
Excellent.
That's what we're learning.
Excellent. Oh my goodness. I love it. Okay, then that's the international piece. Yes. That is awesome. I mean, you all are working on so many amazing initiatives. So I imagine the mentorship part of it, where I see that it's like peer mentoring, and it's also mentoring with, is it a faculty member or is it like someone in industry?
Yes, both and. So we have a separate mentorship program that one of the students, when she graduated from FLY or graduated from UT and moved on, she said, Miss Thaïs, I really want to be involved. Like, how can I do this? And we were like, you can set up you can be over a mentorship program. So we didn't have FLY is not a mentorship program. It's a holistic development program. We have a mentorship component.
Okay.
So she established that, Kiara Truitt Chambers, and she basically paired students with some of the professionals that we knew in the community through the different programs that we've operated. And plus, because of the other position I was in as a program coordinator, in events and community liaisons. I had a lot of partnerships there, so we brought those women in. They served as mentors, some professors, some staff at UT. And then as it's grown over the years, when people graduate, they come back and they don't come back, but they return as a mentor to an undergrad. So there's a lot of Fly alum who are serving as mentors now.
Awesome, awesome. What would you say to those, I guess those that are probably interested in higher education, like those that are like students that want to be able to go from being that student to be able to work on that campus? Like maybe they saw your trajectory. Wow, can I talk today? They're interested. I don't know, what would you say? I don't know if that's pretty vague.
I would say if you're on a college campus now in school, build relationships with staff and faculty who are there, right? So for example, Sydney, we had a strong relationship. She was a Fly student. She graduated and she was applying for these jobs and she wasn't getting them. And at the time, it came that we were in need of hiring someone. We got the finances opened up in our department where we could hire someone full-time because we didn't have any full-time workers besides myself. And then Tiffany, who she's no longer officially a director, but she's, she helps big time. So anyways, because I knew her, because I knew what she could bring to the table, I just offered her the job on the spot and she just started boohooing crying and she was hired. We didn't really have to go through an interview process or anything, but it was because we had a relationship. So a lot of students are afraid of networking and building relationships with staff because they see them as like, oh, some important person. No, they're people just like you people. And so, that's what they're there for. They're there for you. You pay loads of money for their support. So use them, ask them, hey, you want to go get coffee one day? I want to get to know you. I want to know about your career life or how you got here. And I'm not talking about just professors, I'm talking about staff and admin and, program coordinators, just the people who you see as regular people on campus and maybe not big time and they don't carry all of the weight, so to speak. But those people who sit behind those desks, they know some things and they have access. So get to know them.
Awesome. Excellent. And her story was perfect to be able to fit into that answer. So I'm glad it worked out that way. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. I also see that you have there's a Proverbs 31 woman component that's been added as well.
Yes, so the students got to choose what our weekly interest groups topics would be. So we had a couple of students some years ago who were really involved and we were trying to figure out what topics we wanted to talk about. So they came up with about 15 to 20 of them. And from those 15 or 20, we chose 4 that we would rotate in between the month. Because originally we met, I think it was twice a month for 2 hours. And those 2 students that I'm talking about were like, we want to see you more. We don't want to just twice a month is not enough. And so we were like, we're already tired with, because it wasn't just about those meetings. It was the day-to-day office hours with the students as well and planning for the bigger events. So we decided, okay, we'll do once a week for an hour. And then these are the topics we'll rotate through. And so they had Proverbs 31 woman on there. Now, when we do the Proverbs 31 woman, we don't study Proverbs 31. We study the whole word as it pertains to things that college students are dealing with, whether it's jealousy, jealousy and envy, insecurities, forgiveness, issues with your parents, issues in your relationships, giving, integrity, all those different things we talk about, and then we see what the Bible has to say about them. Because if you read Proverbs 31 and read to that woman, she's intimidating. She is doing so much, right? Yes, she has a lot of help and support, but she is powerful. And if you just read that and you're trying to be that person, it's not going to happen. But if you allow God to move in every little area of your life and grow you up and and pull things out of you that shouldn't be there and pour things into you that need to be there, you'll look up one day and you are that Proverbs 31 woman.
All right, now for somebody that is not familiar with that, can you, I don't know if you can describe what that is or what that means right quick for them, or something.
She's a boss, you know, she's doing it. And also the definition of boss means someone who is not just a survivor, but someone who is a conqueror. She's, you know, just every area of her life, she is doing it. And that doesn't mean she doesn't make mistakes. That doesn't mean she, you know, she's confused sometimes, but she's leaning on God and she's figuring it out. And so this particular woman in Proverbs 31 woman, it says that her husband calls her blessed. Her husband praises her, you know, and she's known for her beauty, and she's known for how she blesses other people, and she's known for everything that she has, and just, you know, just that woman who you look at and you're like, well, dang, you know, how can I be like her? That's the woman in Proverbs 31 woman. She's confident. And it's not, so a lot of times we think about, you know, is she beautiful, and what is it called, anatomically? Me and words are funny sometimes, but I think if you're beautiful inside, that shines so much more than, you know, what a lot of people think of beauty on the outside, and it makes you beautiful. Somebody who's stank and has a stank attitude, they could be fine as all get out, but once that stank comes out, you just be like, ugh, you know.
The kids say you ugly.
Exactly. UGLY, you ain't got no.
Yeah.
Yeah, So anyways, she, yeah, that's that woman. And it's, you know, that's somebody who if I looked at the Bible, I would want to be like her, but it looks too far off, right? It looks too challenging. But set her to the side and say, you know, one thing that I dealt with in my life for years that tormented me. When I say torment, I mean just literally tormented me. I would be in a dark pit every time it grabbed me or something triggered it. Was insecurity, you know, not thinking I'm enough. And so just allowing God to work on me and let me know my worth, you know, and not waiting till I'm completely secure before I help somebody else. Like, this is where I am right now, but let me help you while I'm on my journey to becoming more secure, right? And finally feeling and knowing my worth. You know, and that's part of becoming that woman. And then, okay, what is another area you need to work on? I used to have anger issues. I came from a family that did a lot of lashing out, and there was a lot of rage, and there was things being thrown across the room, and, you know, things being shouted and yelled that were ugly. And so I brought that into my marriage, because that's all I knew, you know. And for years, my husband would say, don't yell at me like that. You're hurting my feelings. And I didn't hear him because I was like, what are you talking about? This is what I do. And if something happened and it triggered me, I would respond, I would react. And I didn't realize I had a choice to, I don't have to respond in such anger. I can take a moment, and yes, it pissed me off, but I can choose a different way to respond that will have a better outcome. But that was a long process of, you know, working through that and getting better at that. And then when I finally realized I was hurting my husband, that my actions were not good, God told me to go to him and say, I apologize for being abusive to you. And I was like, God, you want me to use that word, abusive? That's, you know, that's a little strong. He was like, well, abused people abuse others, right? And you've been abused. And I just had to swallow that, like, wow, you know, I'm the abuser now. All these years of being abused, now I'm abusing. And so when I did that, when I apologized to my husband for abusing him, it was like a release, you know, from that trap or that entanglement with anger. And yeah, that's another step into becoming that Proverbs 31 woman.
Wow, amazing. Oh my goodness. So many lessons are being shared, and it's a blessing to me. So I'm excited for our audience today. And, you know, the use of biblical principles to be able to educate, I believe is powerful. I believe that we can learn from one another, even if someone may believe something different, if the base is there for us to be able to learn from, and it's helpful to us, no one's drinking any juice that's going to make them perish, I think we're good. And those that know what I'm talking about know what I'm talking about.
Right, exactly. And that's what we tell the young ladies who attend the Proverbs 31 woman. Some women are Muslims, some women are atheists. We say, we're not trying to push Christianity on you, but this is the topic that a lot of the students have chosen. And if you can glean something from it or learn something from it, please do. But also share your perspective, share your beliefs. We want to hear them.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So, really quick, I know the girls also just started a podcast, and I was excited about that. They got some really good topics. Like I saw where one of them was how playing games can negatively affect relationships. I was like, yes, like they really are doing the thing. So definitely everyone go check out Fly on Instagram and Facebook. I mean, I know it's geared towards the young ladies at the University of Texas. But
no, that's exactly why we started the podcast, because we want to expand. We've been wanting to expand our reach to other universities. And so the podcast has allowed for that. So the podcast is not just for UT, it's for everybody out there.
Awesome. And that's what I love. Like, we can learn from each other during this time. I think it's a great time of opportunity. And thank you so much for having your information public. I know some schools are having some amazing stuff, and I wish we could be the fly on the wall for, like, open this up. You might even get more people to apply to your school. So thank you for having mediums available for more women and people in general to be inspired. So I was excited about that. So thank you so much. So definitely now we are at that point where we get to talk about a syllabus for Black women. Now, one of the things that you share first and foremost is letting folks know that you did not write this for anyone's approval. Take what's for you, I would say. Based on me reading it, I would just say, take what's for you. I feel like when you read information, you learn regardless. You learn, it's based on your experiences in college, maybe some things that you may have wanted to change. Maybe, some things that you would have wanted to go differently, and you use it as a guide to help other students that are, in school now. And I love the title because, one of the things we found out about your book and about you in general, because we were doing a taping on the importance of having a syllabus and following that guide so you can know what to expect from your professor and what to expect of things that are going to be happening for the semester, and making sure you're putting those important tests down that are going to be happening. But when you have someone that has gone to college and they have also spoke with their mentors and friends about the things that they've experienced and were able to put it in a book as a guide, take heed to the lessons of some of those that have had experiences. So I feel that everyone can get something out of it. And what I just wanted to share, like, some of the titles just for folks to get like an idea of some of the things that you talk about, like are you easily angered? Like, that's something you address, and you were honest about a situation that you had, and wounded, hurt, and depressed. God knows, when we're in school, we'll have situations that occur, but there's just, like, you talk about, like, if someone even has an STD in there in college, like you go through the different things. I mean, the audience is gonna find something in the book specifically for them. And I'm seeing, in general, you just said if you're someone that wants advice on how to navigate college, or wants to make better choices, struggles with insecurity, wants to love yourself, seems to find yourself in repetitive toxic relationships, and it goes on and on and on. And I'm just like, it's such a compliment to the work that you do daily. And I just feel, why 110 lessons specifically?
Oh, thank you first for bringing the book up and just, kind of talking about what it goes over. All of those things that you just mentioned is because I went through them myself. My college experience was probably, it's supposed to be the funnest years of your life. It was probably some of the worst years of my life, but it was a growing experience. And why 110? I don't know. I just kept writing, and first it was like 60, and then I was like, oh, I have another memory came to my head, or another idea or popped in my head. So I would just keep writing, and some of them, it was actually, I think, more, and I realized some of them could be combined. So the number is not magical or anything. It's just the number that I ended with. Like, stop. Okay, no more ideas. If you have more, put them in the next book. Let's go ahead and get this one out.
I love it. I love this passage about setting goals. Are you okay with me like reading 2 sentences of it? I know I'm like putting you on the spot with that. But you said always set goals for your life. Then when you reach your goal, pause, celebrate, and enjoy it. Be in the moment for however long it lasts. I love that. And that's number 54 on this syllabus, just so you're aware. I just love how you just talk about slow down and enjoy the ride. No more excuses. You even talk about porn in here. Listen, I'm letting y'all know some secrets about some stuff that's in here. And again, even when you're reading it, I guess I'm thinking back to when you had the retreat, and there was some things that maybe were a trigger for some young ladies because they had some type of experience. I feel like, as folks, and I imagine other people would want to read it too. They would be curious. I would think that this is, this can, other folks would be, blessed by it in their own way. Reading it and being able to gain from it what they can garner from it. And, even though it's a syllabus for Black women, I feel Black men and other just students in general will be able to be blessed from it as well.
Mm-hmm. For sure. It's for Black women just because I'm passionate about Black women, but it's a book for everybody. I had a book talk, and the number of students that stood in that line to get their book signed, most of them were not Black women. So.
Awesome. Yes. Is there anything specifically about the book that you would want to, make folks aware of?
Yeah, like you said, it's, in the beginning, I think I started off saying this book may not be for you, or you may not agree with everything. That's because I say some maybe controversial things, or things that are based upon my experiences and my beliefs that maybe you don't agree with. But I'm not going to hold back from saying them, and saying them wholeheartedly, saying them, because I know for a fact that was my experience. So I'm not going to put it in a way that makes it easier for maybe you or the audience to receive. I'm just going to say it because it's what happened to me. And so in that regard, maybe some people might be kind of thrown off, or like, no, she didn't come at me like that. And that's not my intent. It's just, I'm just putting it out there how it happened to me, or maybe a friend shared something with me and I put it in a way that people could read about it and it could help them. I know one of my husband's cousins read it, and she doesn't know me that well, so she doesn't know how raw I can be. And so when she put a review up on Amazon, it was kind of like, ooh, she was a little bit rough and it was raw. And I was like, that was the point of it, thank you for putting that review up, but now you might have turned some people away because they're thinking it's not that great of a book. The whole point of it was to be transparent and to speak the language of the student.
Number 94, you was like, limit one baby daddy. You was like, Do you have a baby daddy? Don't make the same mistake twice. Don't go and get yourself another baby daddy. You don't need more trouble. Do something different this time. Choose not to sleep with the next guy. If you do, use a condom, prevent another baby daddy situation. So if someone does find themselves in a situation where, because we know that different situations occur. We know that people might be into situations, and I mean, I know people that have had situations. And you know, especially if they are coming from a Christian background too. Some people may find themselves in a situation where maybe something occurred to put them in a situation that was you know, like maybe some people will found themselves in a situation where maybe they, and I hate to make it so drastic, but these are facts. Like if somebody is reading it and maybe they had some situation that triggered them when they read that. Like if God forbid they were in a situation where someone took advantage of them, or they were raped or something like that, and because they were raised Christian, they ended up still having this child, or whatever the situation is. How would you help somebody navigate through reading that particular piece? Like someone that maybe they did find themselves with more than one father of their children.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for asking that. It's a great question. I think the overall thing that I was trying to get across was the cycles that we get caught up in. And it's not something that first of all, a baby in any case is a blessing, right? No matter how it was conceived, it's a blessing. And so the baby, I'm not saying is what we're trying to prevent, but we all know that being, you know, pregnant and having a daddy who's maybe or may not committed, and we don't know if they're going to be there, or the relationship wasn't that stable in the first place, is not a situation that we want to put ourselves in, correct? Or the situation that we dreamed of, maybe some people do, but not for me, right? And so my point was, whatever situation you find yourself in, do it. And if you're not pleased with it, do it differently the next time. And for me, like I got caught up in a series of abusive relationships. One guy was verbally abusive, the next guy was sexually abusive, physically abusive, on and on and on, right? Like 3 or 4 boyfriends right in a row. And so I had to stop and ask myself, what's the common denominator here? And it was me. So yes, I can keep blaming those guys for what they're doing, but what can I do differently next time? And I realized because I was so insecure, there was a spirit, the spirit in me attracted those type of men who knew they could come in and take advantage of me, right? So they saw that there's a young girl over there who I can go and do whatever I want to, and she's not going to do anything about it. But once I realized I needed to do something differently, I stopped dating for a while and just started spending time with loving me and getting to know me and getting to know my creator and why he created me in the first dang place, because life was effed up at the time, you know, so why in the hell am I here? And so spending time with just me and loving on me. And as I started doing that and just loving on myself and turning those insecurities into love zones in my life, I didn't even attract that type of guy anymore. You know, I dated all thugs and drug dealers and the gangsters and stuff like that. And after a time period of just spending time with me, those guys weren't even attracted to me anymore. And I was like, am I not cute anymore or something? You know, what's going on? And the guy was like, no, I'm changing you. And once the inside of me started changing, I started attracting different types of guys, you know. I'll say I married a nerd. It was a guy who, in the past, I probably would have been like, no. But, you know, that's how, you know, God changed me. So my point is not to say that if you get pregnant and you have another baby daddy, or even a third baby daddy, or a fourth baby daddy, because we all know women in those situations, not to condemn them or to make them feel bad. But if you don't like what your life, how your life is turning out, do something differently. It's you. You can do something about it. And I didn't realize for years I had a choice in the situation. You know, we always like to blame the other people, but what can you do differently? And of course, there's situations where you might be raped or things like that. I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about the things that you can control, do something about. And I will say that I was raped in one of my relationships repeatedly, you know, because there was a power control there. And so, yes, the rape was not my fault, but staying with him, I had control over that. And it took me a long time to wake up and realize I don't have to stay here and just keep getting raped and being forced to give head and things like that. I don't want this anymore. So I left. So what can you do differently?
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing. You know, as I said, when people read through it, I imagine, there are going to be like different things. They'll come across different subjects. They'll be like, what? But you're speaking truth, you're speaking true to the matter. And again, it's based on personal experience and the experience of, some of those folks, so I appreciate you for your vulnerability, for someone else to be brought out of whatever situation it is that they may see themselves going through. And when I brought out about rape, I said that because I have a family member that was in that exact situation. So certainly, we know that a lot of people have a lot of different situations. And, I thank you again, for your vulnerability. And, I don't know if there's ever, I don't know what we feel is a right time to share our story or whatever it is that has transpired in our lives to be able to be a blessing into the life of someone else. But I don't know, this has been about you. This hasn't been about me. But sometimes I feel when someone is vulnerable and they share something about themselves, of course, you're not alone because other people have been in situations that they have. But I personally, had a situation where when I graduated from college, when I graduated from college, I was 7 months pregnant. And then moving in with my parents was a whole nother thing after having graduated from college. And then wanting to kind of be away from the setting of being a new mother, living in the same household as my mother, trying to be a parent, and then in a relationship with someone else where I'm like ironing his shirts and doing all these things, and he's not my husband, but it's like I'm playing house somewhere else. So I'm not in my mother's house. And I find myself in a situation where I end up having another child. And so that whole period was quite challenging. And I'll share more about that in the future. But the thing about that is when we are in these situations, at the end of the day, we are going to have a series of healing from all of those relationships, and even within ourselves, to come back to be the person that we were purposed to be, and then to take ownership of who we are in spite of those things that we did experience, so that we can continue to operate in our purpose. And sometimes when we get caught up into those particular circumstances, we allow like maybe people outside ourselves to dictate how the rest of our lives are supposed to be based on that one particular episode in our life. But just like we have talked about today, the different parts and components of our life, we continue to evolve if we allow ourselves to, and continue to hear that voice within, helping us to be able to keep moving forward. So thank you so much for sharing your voice and shedding light. And, we were vulnerable today, so that someone else can be blessed to come out of whatever circumstance maybe they found themselves in. But we hope you can find yourself on a new path to being fearless and being a leader and maybe building your own institute, because you are fly. We are the fly girls. Fly woman. Thank you so much. Is there anything else that you would like to share today? Anything you would like to close with, to just one last
Sure.
inspiration?
Thank you, Melanie, for sharing your story or part of your story. That was powerful. And just want to remind young ladies that, you know, you are loved. There's nothing you can do or not do that would make God ever stop loving you. And you were created on purpose, for a purpose. So if you think, you know, you're an accident or you're wondering why you're here, throw that thought out. You're here you're here on purpose, especially at this time. This time in the world is, you know, as we all know, is hectic. But if you're here right now, it means you have something to do to help it to be better. You know, and I feel like society is jacked up right now because people aren't fulfilling their purpose. There's holes, there's gaps. But when you do your purpose and you fill in that gap, it helps to uplift the whole society. So that's all. If you want to follow the book on Instagram, it's at Syllabus for Black Women. That's Syllabus with the number 4 Black Women. Or if you want to follow us for Fly, it's at FLI_UT. You're welcome to come to our weekly interest groups. We're done for the semester, but next semester we'll be starting back up, whatever university you're at, high school. If you're not in a university, if you're just at home or you're working, you can still join us. Whatever we can do to help build you up and encourage you, you're more than welcome to attend. Oh, the podcast, you can find it on Buzzsprout or Spotify. It's called The Fly Girls.
Awesome.
But thank you for having me, Melanie. Thank you all.
Oh, thank you so much for being here. It was definitely a blessing, opening new wide open doors of opportunity for folks to be spurred into positive action on purpose. So thank you so much. Be blessed, everyone.